There's more to Macon County than farmland, a whole conservation district more. I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence, and in this episode of Take a Hike, I'll share why you and your family should visit not just Rock Springs, but the entire Macon County Conservation District.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.
Hi, I'm WEIU's Lacey Spence. I've lived in Central Illinois my whole life, and if there's one thing I've learned, you don't have to go too far to find the beauty of the great outdoors. Come along with me as I visit a variety of parks and natural areas across Illinois, and share why you should take a hike to each episode's location. Adventure and fun await in Take a Hike, the mini-series. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Take a Hike, the mini-series. I'm your host, Lacey Spence, and today we have taken the show on the road to the Macon County Conservation District. I have two fabulous guests with me today. If you would like to go ahead and introduce yourself, ladies, I'll start with you.
Yep, my name is Ashton Nunn. I'm the marketing specialist at the Macon County Conservation District.
Wonderful.
And I'm Alysia Callison. I am the Director of Program Services here at the district.
Fantastic. Now I'm so excited to pick both of your brains about all things MCCD. And but first, we are at Rock Springs today, and we were talking a little bit before we got recording that this is one of the better known sites. Can you talk about what this site is?
Yeah, so Rock Springs Conservation Area is probably our most well-known site here in Macon County. Rock Springs is located on the south side of Decatur, Illinois, and people tend to come here because this is one of our larger sites, and also we have our nature center here. So our nature center is, I think, a 20,000 square foot building where we've got exhibits and educational animals and photo galleries and cool things that people can come and check out. It's also kind of the hub for all of our educational programs, so it does tend to bring a lot of people to this site.
Sure.
But it's not just Rock Springs. We have some other areas throughout the county as well.
Yeah, would you like to kind of go into those?
Sure, yeah. So we have Griswold Conservation Area, which is in Blue Mound. We have Friends Creek Conservation Area in the Argenta area, Sand Creek Conservation Area, and Fort Daniel Conservation Area. And Fort Daniel is kind of an exciting one for us right now because we just added roughly 200 acres to that site. So just in the past couple of years, we've just about doubled the size of that site. And we're very excited. It's currently farmland, and so soon we will be working on converting that acreage into native prairie and wetland and oak savanna habitats. So it's very exciting out there right now.
Wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of variety, a lot of different sites to choose from if someone's looking to visit. And we always like to hit why people should visit, why they should take a hike and make the drive. So can you kind of talk a little bit about maybe what each of the sites has to offer? We can start with Rock Springs though, since that's where we're at today.
Yeah, so we do a lot of programming. We do a lot of weekend programming. We have annual events, we have fall events, we have spring events, we've got fundraising events in the fall and the spring. So we have a little bit of everything to offer on top of some beautiful trails out here. We do a lot of field trips, mainly at this location since it is where our nature center is, but we also travel and go to libraries, we go to schools. So we have a lot to offer here at Rock Springs.
I bet it's nice when you get to take things on the road too.
It is fun.
It is, yeah. I think we spend so much time here at Rock Springs, so it's nice to go somewhere else and get a little bit of a change of scenery sometimes, and take the office with us.
And you get to talk about something that you love.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk trails. What kind of trails are there out here at Rock Springs?
We have, I want to say, 9 miles worth of trails here at Rock Springs. So we have varying difficulties. If you're looking for something that is flat and maybe a little bit more accessible, if you want to take your bike out, We have our Rock Springs Fairview Bike Trail, which is about 2.25 miles from here to Fairview Park in Decatur.
Okay.
And people love that one. We have people out here walking and riding on that trail all the time. And then we have some other trails that go a little bit farther into the forest and into the prairie. We have one called the River Trail, which is about 3 miles, and it's hilly and it's a little more difficult, and it takes you right along the river, and it's absolutely beautiful.
And so where we're kind of camped out today, we've got this really nice pond behind us. Is there fishing, or is this more of a conservation effort? What do we got?
We do allow fishing out here, and we actually have trout season as well. So the IDNR does stock our ponds with trout. A lot
Okay.
of people get really excited for that. But we just have this new kayak. It's ADA accessible. It's a nice kayak launch that people come out. They can kayak, paddleboard, canoe, kind of whatever they would like to do out here.
No, that's awesome. And so if I'm doing that, is there any sort of like reservation I need to make, or can I just come out here and enjoy? Or
Yep, so we welcome people to bring their own kayaks, their own paddleboards. We do sometimes offer, usually 1 weekend a month during certain months, we'll sometimes have canoe rentals, and we'll have staff out here to rent canoes. But typically people can bring their own equipment out, and they can just kind of use it at their leisure.
awesome. So we've covered the trails, we've covered the pond. Is there anything else other than we've also covered educational opportunities with your nature center? And so kind of walk me through, what can you see and expect to see inside of your nature center?
So our nature center, we have a few different exhibits that you can visit. One exhibit we just installed last year, and it's kind of a history of the land that we manage here in this area, starting in early Native American times into the present day. So how was the land used? How did people, how did people work with the land? And also a little bit of the history of the conservation district itself. And then as you get into the Nature Center more, you can see some of our education animals. We've got some turtles, we've got a snake, we've got some frogs. We also have our window on wildlife, which is a wildlife viewing window. You can come and sit on a really comfy couch in the Nature Center and just observe the wildlife that comes up to the window. We see all sorts of birds, we see turkeys, deer, raccoons, all sorts of really fun stuff there as well. So there's a lot to see and explore in the Nature Center.
It sounds like you need like a wildlife bingo card. You can just kind of like mark them off.
That's a good idea.
idea.
Yeah.
All right, just tuck that in the back
Yeah, I'll have
pocket.
to
Feel
make
free
that
to
later.
put, Lacey's nature bingo on there. That's fine. And so another draw here you were telling me about, there's some trees that aren't actually native to Illinois. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we have the locals around here called the pine forest.
Okay.
They are from out west. They are white and red pines. The pine tree that is native to Illinois is the red cedar, but these were planted a while ago. They're clearly not from this area. They're very, very tall. We have a lot of people that come out and take family portraits out there. We have a lot of weddings in the pines. It's just a very beautiful backdrop, and people love it.
Those trees were planted here before the district acquired the land. So it was one of those things too where we saw the value in it to bring people out to our sites and have something really beautiful and serene that people could come out and enjoy nature. And people love it so much. So while it's not native, we do maintain it because it is such a well-loved part of the community. Sure. And it gets them out here, and then once they're here, they can see, here's what Illinois nature really looks like.
Yeah. And so what does conservation look like in a practical sense? What are you kind of doing? What are your efforts?
Well, most of the county is farmland.
Okay.
So this is a very heavy agricultural area.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to conservation, a lot of the times we're not acquiring land that is remnant or original. It has been converted at some point. So we acquire a lot of farmland, a lot of agriculture, and so our efforts are really focused on restoration. How do we convert that farmland that was a monoculture of soybeans and corn? How do we convert that back to a native prairie or a wetland or a forest? So that's a lot of it is seeding and picking the right composition of plants and flowers that we want to bring here so we can attract the right wildlife and create suitable habitats. So a lot of it really comes down to just restoring. And then, of course, maintaining.
Yeah.
So we struggle with invasive species, just like any organization like this does. And so we do a lot of prescribed fire. So in the spring and the fall, we have burn season, where we burn our prairies and our forests in cycles. And then we also have some really great volunteers that help us a lot with invasive species removal, cutting down honeysuckle, autumn olive, and all of those fun things that we have to deal with. So.
And that was going to be one of my next questions, is if I'm somebody who loves the outdoors, who wants to give back, what kind of ways can I do so? Is it, just like a monetary type of thing, or can I get my hands dirty?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have fundraising opportunities, but we also have a great volunteer base. We have, I think, close to 200 volunteers, but we have things as simple as trail monitoring, where you just go out and hike the trails, and anything you see, you report back to us.
A rough gig.
Yeah, right. We've got volunteers that help us with our big special events that they come out, and the volunteers help with, they'll help the kids do pumpkin painting. They'll help people load up into canoes. We've got our the ones that do natural resources with us that go out and help the guys, and our natural resources team, they help them collect seed and they help them do invasive removal. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. And if you love history, they have historic volunteers that they can come out and volunteer and show people to our historic sites.
Awesome, awesome. So no shortage of ways to get involved. Sounds like there's always room for one more on the volunteer team.
Yes.
And so let's kind of pivot and talk about some of the other sites too. What kind of opportunities or draws to those areas are there?
That's a great question. So I think each one of our other sites offers something that's unique in the county. So for example, Sand Creek is the only public equestrian trail that we have in Macon County. So we maintain the trails at Sand Creek so that they're 10 feet wide and 10 feet tall, perfect for getting your horse down those trails and going for a nice ride. Friends Creek in the Argenta area, we have the only public campground in Macon County. So if you are a camper or you're looking for somewhere scenic to visit, you can come out and rent a campsite. And you can visit Friends Creek that way. So it's really beautiful out there, and the crew works really hard to keep it beautiful.
Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah.
We get our campers are very happy out there.
Yeah,
Good.
A lot of happy campers.
Yes. Yeah. Fort Daniel is in the Long Creek area. And that's the site that we just recently added about 200 acres to, and so we're working on developing that. And then Blue Mound, that is the people in Blue Mound, they just call it the Mound. We call it Griswold, but they call it the Mound, and it is one of the highest points in Macon County, which isn't really saying much because we're pretty flat here, but it is a glacial came, so it's basically a big gravel pit that was dumped by a glacier, 100,000 years ago or something like that. And then we also have a few historic sites throughout the county as well. So Oglesby Mansion, that has some really important historic value there. Governor Oglesby was governor of Illinois multiple times. He was a friend of Abraham Lincoln. It is a really beautiful historic home. We have historic schoolhouse at Friends Creek, and we have a historic home here at Rock Springs. So there's something unique, I think, at each one of our sites.
Sure. So for each of you, do you all have a favorite spot of, like, before you leave Macon County, you have to see fill in the blank?
I like Fort Daniel. Even before I worked for the Macon County Conservation District, my children and I would hike out at Fort Daniel a lot. There's just some really gorgeous trails out there. There's a little ford that you can cross, so my kids always had fun playing in the creek whenever we went down there.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite spot.
For me, that's a tough question because there are so many really beautiful spots. I think one of my favorite spots is at Sand Creek Conservation Area. There's a section of forest there that our natural resources team, they went to town on it, getting the invasives out and opening up the forest floor, and it's just absolutely beautiful and a really good example of what one of our native oak hickory forests might have looked like pre-settlement. But then here at Rock Springs, of course, I have a lot of favorites here as well, and I do like to go sit by the pine forest, even though it's not native. I do love it. It's just so beautiful.
Well, there's nothing wrong with, having appreciation for different landscapes. I mean, that's why we travel, and that's why we tell people to take a hike, because, this site has definitely looked different than maybe where we've been in northern Illinois or southern Illinois. So Illinois's got a lot more diversity than people think, and so we hope this show kind of, showcases that. So as we're heading towards our last couple of minutes before we transition, I would love to ask just about a couple of activities. You all can say yay or nay whether they're viable here. Birding.
Yes.
Bug finding, bug exploring.
Yes.
I didn't bother to learn the exact name of it because I don't like the creepy crawlies, but some people like to.
Yes.
Are there any sort of maybe reptiles, any lizards or herps that are around here?
So we see, in the spring, we see all sorts of turtles that hang out here at this pond. So this is a really good place to see aquatic turtles. We do see a lot of snakes along our trails as well, which we love.
Yeah,
We're
we
snake
love
people.
the snakes.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we see blue racers, rat snakes. We've seen some hog noses, so a wide variety. And then this spring, we also kind of went out and explored a little bit, and we found some smallmouth salamanders. So we do have some cool herps that are here too.
I have to crack up. I don't know if you could hear it on her mic. You said the hog noses. She goes, they're so cute.
They are cute. They got those little turned up noses.
Oh my goodness, more power to you. From where we are in Charleston, our conservation area has some Indiana bats that kind of migrate over. Are there any bats here? Maybe not the Indiana bat, but any bats that frequent?
Yeah, I don't know about Indiana bats for sure. I don't know that we've had a survey here anytime recently, but definitely we have little brown bats. We have big brown bats. One day I rescued an eastern red bat from the bike trail, so we've got eastern reds here as well. I think we have probably a few more species than that, but those are the ones I know for sure we have.
Sure. Kind of a random one, geocaching. Do you know if anybody geocaches out here?
Yes, we do have some caches here in the area.
If I'm a visitor, can you just kind of stress the importance of making sure we respect the nature, that we're not, trampling things, we stay on the trails, that kind of stuff?
Yes, so that is very important because there are a lot of small wildflowers that will grow alongside the trail, especially in springtime. The little spring beauties are little bitties, so staying on trail is always important to keep those safe so other people can enjoy them when they come through as well. We always like to remind people to keep their pets on leash. We know that dogs love to run and we love to see them run. They're so cute, but there are people who are maybe afraid of dogs, who have maybe not had great experiences. And if there is an animal, the dog, we wouldn't want the safety of anything being compromised if a dog got off leash and were to chase something. So just kind of remembering that nature's there. Everything belongs in nature. Even a leaf that fell on the ground, it has a purpose in nature. And so we always...
And we stress the old Boy Scout model, leave no trace, right?
Yeah.
So pack in what you pack out. We do have trash cans placed strategically along our trails, so please utilize them.
Sure.
We want to keep these spaces beautiful for years to come so that everyone can enjoy them, not just us.
Very well put. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to transition and take a bit of a step back in time. So don't go anywhere. Take a hike. We'll be right back. And we are back. We still have Alysia here with us, and she's going to be telling us about this fabulous yellow building behind us. So what is this little ray of sunshine that we're working with?
Yes, so this is what we call the Homestead Prairie Farm. It's located here at Rock Springs Conservation Area in Decatur, and this is kind of a little area that we have converted back to an 1860s style farmhouse and the land surrounding it. So this house is unique in that it was built around 1847 and it sits exactly where it was built. So it's on its original foundation, which is pretty rare for buildings of this age. And so we've converted the home, which we acquired in roughly 1977, to an 1860s style museum, and the grounds around it reflect that as well. So we have an heirloom garden, which we plant with heirloom varieties of vegetables, and that is tended to by the U of I Extension Master Gardeners. And then we have we've got some herbs that we plant around there as well. We've got a wood shop that we sometimes have interpreters in, whittling away at things.
Yeah.
And this is important because while yes, we do care about natural history and plants and wildlife, we also care about local history and culture as well.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a cool little hidden gem that we have here at Rock Springs that people seem to really enjoy when they find it.
Yeah, so let's say I'm somebody who wants to come check out the house, check out the grounds. Is there a certain time of week or that's like usually good, or?
Yeah, so the farm is open for tours May through October on Saturdays and Sundays from 1 to 4 p.m. So we have a costumed interpreter here, somebody in period clothing that will be here to give you a tour of the house and of the grounds. And then we also have a few special events throughout the year if you're not here on one of those weekends where you can stop by and learn a little bit more as well.
And then just to kind of reiterate, you've been talking about, you know, how important conservation is, but this is also showing how important it is, the people who lived here. Can you kind of talk about the importance of preserving it?
Yeah, so this is unique because really nobody notable lived here. You know, Lincoln didn't live here. We didn't have some really important historical figure that lived here at this house, but it is a good representation of what the average farm family would have looked like in the 1800s. You know, a lot of times we see these restored mansions, like the Oglesby Mansion that we also manage, and they're beautiful and they're grand and they show what a wealthy person would have lived like in the 1800s, but not the average Joe, right? So this is kind of unique in that this gives you a glimpse into what, you know, maybe a working family that was maybe just right at poverty level would have lived like. This home originally was just one room.
Oh, wow.
And there were a lot of people living in just one room. And as they had the means and as they had the time, they added on one room at a time to get it to where it's at now.
Well, awesome. Okay, well, let's take a quick break and sneak inside and show people how the other half lived.
Sure.
So now we're inside this humble abode, and so what room are we standing in?
So right now we are standing in the kitchen.
Okay, and can you kind of fill us in on some of the, you know, artifacts that we're looking at?
Yeah, so this home is filled with artifacts that are either replica or antique. None of them are original to the home. So we acquired this house in the 1970s. There were still people living in it. So, you know, it's gone through a lot of families over the years. So we had to kind of start from scratch and restore everything back to what it would have been like. So in this room, we have a lot of objects that you would have found in your typical farm family back in the 1860s, including, you know, pots and pans and gourds, and we have this really incredible cast iron stove.
Yeah, this stove is beautiful.
Yeah, that's my favorite piece in the whole house, I think. It's just really gorgeous, and I love the details on it. But it's got 4 burners down here. We've got 2 burners at the top. There's an oven. This is a wood-fired stove. Back then, they wouldn't have had electricity.
Yeah.
So everything would have been powered by heat.
And the irons on top to get them all warmed up.
Right,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
I know. It kind of makes you a little bit grateful for what we have today.
Oh, heavens, yes. Indoor plumbing, I would not live without it.
Yes, and we do have an outhouse here as well. It's functional.
So you're covered. And so we've covered the kitchen pretty well, dining area. Let's pivot into this other room too.
Sure.
If anyone comes to visit, be sure to watch your head and watch your step.
Yes, nothing in this house is uniform. All the rooms were added on gradually. They didn't have construction codes like we have today.
Sure.
So they just kind of built what they needed. This room is what we call the boarders room. Okay. So in addition to the family that lived here, there were also some boarders and hired hands that lived here as well. And this is the room that they would have stayed in. This room is unique because you can see on this wall we have the original wood facade from that original log cabin. So the kitchen where we were originally standing, that was the home. That's
the one room.
The entire family lived there, and there was a mother, father, they had 3 daughters, grandma lived with them. So yeah, it was everybody in that one room, and then they needed to expand a little bit.
Say personal space who?
Yes, exactly. So in this room we have things like a rope bed here with a feather mattress. We've got some items that they might have used to have a little fun, to entertain themselves, a washboard, things that might be typical of a boarder's room.
And it's so important that we appreciate our past and know where we came from. Like we were kind of talking earlier, it is nice because we can really appreciate what we do have now.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and we use this home for school tours as well and field trips. So it's always really fun to bring students into this house and have them look around and say, well, how did they play their video games, and where did they watch TV, and where did they go to the bathroom? And you have to have these kind of revelatory moments with them when they realize, like, oh yeah, today it's a lot different than it was 200 years ago.
So we're conserving nature, we're conserving the past. We've had a great time here today. Thank you so much for showing us around just a small snippet of the Conservation District. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for coming out. We're glad that you guys are here.
Of course, the pleasure is ours. And we thank our viewers for joining us for this episode of Take a Hike. If you want to see more of this beautiful homestead, make sure you visit Rock Springs. And I will see you in the next episode.
Take a Hike on WEIU is supported by Roll King, America's farm and home store, camping supplies, kayaks, fishing and pet supplies, and more. Find your store and more information regarding Roll King at rollking.com.